Adrian, hybrid working in a post-COVID world, it has thrown up so many different issues and aspects that for employers, for organisations, that they weren't there prior to the pandemic. And in terms of buildings, there are tens of thousands of buildings all over the UK that have been empty for a prolonged time. Can you just outline some of the key things that organisations should be considering in regard to those premises?
Indeed. So security is obviously of paramount concern. So organisations, whether they own the building or occupy parts of a building pursuant to a lease, need to ensure that their premises are secure, to ensure that trespassers and squatters can't gain access to the premises, thereby causing damage to the premises, and having access to lots of confidential information. So organisations need to ensure that their own premises are secure, and if they are a tenant of a multi-let building, they need to liaise closely with their landlord to ensure that the building itself is secure, as the landlord in that situation will be responsible for securing the building as a whole.
And I suppose they can't forget that their liabilities as a tenant, insurance, for example, must still be something which is very much central to their focus moving forward.
Yes, absolutely. So the other things that organisations need to consider, firstly, as you say, is insurance. So the insurance company certainly needs to be notified that the premises and/or building are empty and are going to be empty for a prolonged period of time. And insurance companies will undoubtedly impose additional conditions upon the owner and occupants of premises and buildings that are left vacant for a prolonged period of time. And those obligations can be quite onerous, such as having to inspect the premises on a weekly basis, ensuring that the temperature of the premises doesn't fall below a certain degree. So again, the tenant organisation needs to liaise closely with the landlord about who's going to inform the insurance company, and both parties need to make sure that the obligations set out by the insurance company whilst the premises are vacant are complied with. The other thing that organisations, if they are tenants of a multi-let building, need to be mindful of is they need to have a very close look at their lease, because a lease will contain several obligations on the tenant, even in usual times, such as maintaining health and safety policies, keeping fire risk assessments up to date, etc. But leases may contain specific obligations regarding what should happen to premises if they are vacant, or they may even contain positive obligations. So, for example, some leases will contain a positive obligation to keep the premises open for a period of time, or for certain times and days during the week, which obviously, if the building as a whole is empty, they're not complying with.
Now, there are a number of organisations who are bringing people back into offices, but many do still remain empty. But what should organisations be doing to plan for the return of their colleagues to the office?
So a few things they need to do straight away, if they've not been doing already. Firstly, is to ensure that their policies, such as their health and safety policy, fire risk assessments, etc., in relation to the premises that the organisation is responsible for are up to date. Secondly, if the organisation is in a multi-let building, then they should obtain from the landlord or request from the landlord the up-to-date fire risk assessment policies, health and safety policies, etc., in relation to the communal parts of the building, such as the reception area, request service reports for the lifts in the building. And finally, what's really important is in relation to the air conditioning systems and water cooling systems in the premises and the building. It's really important to ensure that those services are frequently maintained, upgraded if necessary, so that they got the necessary certification from the British Standards Institution and or the Building and Engineering Services Association.